This being the second surprise passing of a former NFL player over the last 2 weeks, the NFL and its community have been going through some rough times as of late. In today's video, we'll be taking a look into these scary situations, keeping you up to date on what has recently transpired. Stick around because you're going to want to make sure you know exactly what's happened over the weekend and the past few weeks. With that being said, let's jump right into the video. The tragic passing of Glenn Foster. Former New Orleans Saints defensive end Glenn Foster has tragically passed away at the age of 31. Details are scarce, but we do know that he was in police custody in Alabama at the time of his death. The police station at the precinct in which Foster was held have declined to comment and have not released any other information. So what happened to Glenn Foster? Unfortunately, we do not know what truly happened, and we likely won't know the full story for quite some time. Not with the truth being locked behind bars at a police station in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Foster was in police custody as he had been arrested on counts of robbery and simple assault due to an incident in Pickens County. Foster was in custody so quickly due to his prior charges including reckless endangerment, attempting to elude police, and resisting arrest, for which he was arrested for only 24 hours prior to his arrest for assault and robbery. The Alabama State Bureau of Investigation took over the investigation into Foster's death after local authorities declined to comment on what took place on December 6th, leading to Foster's death. Although we have no official idea as to what happened, it seems fishy that a man would go into prison on a Sunday perfectly healthy and then wind up dead the very next day. The speculation is truly horrifying to imagine. What went on in that police station on December 6th, and who's to blame for the death of Glenn Foster? Hopefully Foster's family can get the answers they deserve sooner rather than later. Foster's football career. Unlike other NFL stars, Foster did not grow up intending to play pro football. Foster, believe it or not, had an interest in pursuing business goals and had a career in business mapped out when he was attending Mount Carmel High School in Chicago. Foster did not begin playing football until his sophomore year in high school, but clearly he excelled at the sport, more specifically his position of defensive end. Foster went on to play football for the remainder of his high school days, but did not pursue it in college. Instead, Foster traded out for the New Orleans Saints in the summer of 2013 and ended up being signed as an undrafted free agent. Foster impressed the Saints early with 3 sacks his rookie year. Unfortunately for Foster, he was waived by the team in 2015 and never played in the NFL again. He instead followed through on his original plans to be in the business world, a world in which he thrived in. Foster worked hard and focused his efforts on real estate development and the selling of real estate. Glenn and his wife Pamela worked together in developing real estate as Pamela had her general contracting license, which proved to be a big help in their line of work. Glenn and Pam worked together up until Glenn's tragic and mysterious passing, which will hopefully become much less mysterious in the near future. The second of 2 tragic NFL players to lose their life in recent days. Glenn Foster was unfortunately not the only former NFL player to lose his life earlier this month, as former Denver Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas was recently found dead in his home at age 33. His death is still being investigated, but right now it's being chalked up to possible medical issues. According to his friends and family, Thomas had been suffering from seizures over the past year, and it is currently believed that Thomas suffered a seizure while in the shower, although this is yet to be confirmed. Over the past several days, love for Thomas has been flooding social media, showing just how much the former wide receiver will be missed. NFL legend and Hall of Famer Peyton Manning expressed his thoughts on Twitter saying, "DT was a better person than he was a player, and he was a Hall of Fame player," Manning said. "That tells you how good of a person he was. He treated my kids like they were his own. He was there for every teammate's charity event. Absolutely devastated." Many of Thomas's teammates and coaches over his career took to social media to express how much he meant to them and how loved he was and will continue to be. Demaryius Thomas and Glenn Foster were great players and will be greatly missed by their families, friends, and NFL fans all over the world. Rest in peace to both Demaryius Thomas and Glenn Foster. Tragedy continues to strike the NFL. In April of 2021, ex-NFLer Philip Adams shot and killed 6 people and then killed himself in a standoff with police in South Carolina. The reason as to why Adams committed such an egregious act went unanswered for many months until just recently. It has finally been reported that after a full autopsy of Adams's brain, he was suffering from a degenerative brain disease that severely diminished his ability for critical thinking while simultaneously increasing his aggression. The disease is called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or better known as CTE, and is caused by repeated head trauma, which unfortunately is almost a guarantee to any longtime NFL player. After Adams' family agreed to have his brain undergo a full autopsy specifically to detect CTE, the doctors confirmed that Adams suffered from stage 2 CTE, which in his case was deemed unusually severe. Adams shot and killed Dr. Robert Leslie, his wife, and 2 of his grandchildren, along with 2 men working at Dr. Leslie's home, according to officials in South Carolina. The news that Adams suffered from from a brain injury that increases aggression and affected his ability to critically think is most likely no comfort to the families of the victims involved in the shooting, however. I am sure it comes as some relief to the rest of Adams' family to know that this disease was most likely what drove Philip to commit this horrible act of violence. Authorities are still unsure as to why Adams decided to target the Leslie family home, but will continue to investigate. So far, they have found some illegible writing in Adams' home and confiscated over 20 firearms from his home. Police will continue to look into the attack, and brain specialists will continue to look at the effects of this disease, as well as causes and possible solutions to helping those who suffer from the disease and to prevent further cases in the future. Is the NFL or the game of football possibly to blame? Nobody wants to blame a game as fun or as popular as football for the horrific and tragic deaths of so many players and victims of violent acts from former NFL players, but is the game the root cause of the problems? And is the NFL letting this happen? If we just take 2 of the 3 players we talked about in today's video, it seems clear that we can chalk up their deaths and their acts to the injuries suffered while playing football. Thomas began to suffer from seizures shortly after retiring from the NFL, and Adams had suffered enough traumatic brain injuries to develop a degenerative brain disease so severe it completely altered who Philip was. Is the NFL really doing all they can in order to prevent incidents like this happening in the future? How can the NFL be doing better in order to secure the lives of former players once they finish playing the game they love? And furthermore, how can we prevent further injuries in the future without completely changing the most popular sport in North America? It seems like a daunting task and one that will take some time to truly solve, but it is necessary, as we can no longer sit back and watch the NFL put their players into situations in which they can never recover from. We cannot watch any longer as players suffer after their career is over, forcing them to turn to alcohol, drugs, spousal abuse, and other types of violence or suicide. This is an epidemic, one that we are frankly allowing to happen each time we see a player take the field after not fully recovering from a serious injury. There must come a time where the NFL and its players finally say enough is enough, and I hope that the terrible and needless deaths of Glenn Foster and Demaryius Thomas, along with the terrible situation surrounding Philip Adams, is enough for the world to stop and take a look around and realize that the long-term care of these athletes is much more important than their playing career. This needs to change, and we need to change. And on that dreary note, that's all we have here today on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think happened to Glenn Foster? And what did you think about the news that Philip Adams had a degenerative brain disease when he committed murder? Does it change your opinion on what happened? Whatever you have to say, please let us know in the comment section below, but please be respectful. Thank you all again, and we'll see you in the next video.